Awesome. We're live on YouTube and Facebook. All right, almost done sharing it, then I can get us kicked off and started. Perfect. Well, good morning and happy Tuesday to everybody. I see a couple of people are starting to hop on here. If you are starting to tune into our broadcast, you know that I love to give you some shout outs. So I know who is on here. You have to give me that thumbs up or start commenting so I see your name displayed. I appreciate you taking some time out of your morning to get educated and support the business community. And so I like to kind of give you that pat on the back. I am Juliette Abdel, President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce. So excited to come to you again live. Today's broadcast is focused on our business success series. As you know, we've been hosting these for about 3 months now, designed to show you what our businesses around the community are doing to overcome COVID, how they were impacted and how they adapted. More importantly, what health and safety measures they've put in place to deal with customers, to support their employees, and allow for you to engage with them, because a lot of you have questions on some things you can implement in your business. And this is kind of that guided peer-to-peer support that we're happy to bring to you. I see on here Melissa and Amy. Good morning to you both. Thank you for tuning in. So today's broadcast, before I start going in detail on it, if it's your first time on this page, make sure that you hit the like button and you hit the follow so you can get those alerts when we do go live into the future. If you already like the page but may not necessarily get alerted when we go live, the problem might be that you are not following the page. So make sure you hit the follow button so you can get those alerts. Now, at the same time that we are streaming this on our Facebook page, we also have it streaming on our YouTube channel. That's Westminster Chamber of Commerce, or you can find a lot of the videos dating back into March on our COVID page. That's westminsterchamber.biz/COVID-19-updates. Now, I'll go ahead and move into introducing our speaker. And I already shared with you that today's topic is focused on our business success series. We have with us Custom Flag Company, who has been a member of ours for as long as we've been around. So I want to say for about 7.5 years, located in the heart or south historic part of Westminster. Kim has been dynamic to work with. And not only has she been recognized as our Small Business of the Year in the past, she is just a champion for a lot of things in and around our community. So I'm pleased to have with me Kim Griebling to share a few words on how they were affected by COVID and answer some questions that we might have. But I ask you to continue to comment on here and ask us any questions so that we can pick them up after her comments at the start of this broadcast. So Kim, it is all yours. I'm going to mute myself.
Thank you, Juliette. I appreciate the invitation. I'm happy to be here and share a little bit about Custom Flag Company. We are a full-service flag and flagpole company. We actually are in our 22nd year. We're celebrating 22 years this month, so we're pleased about that. We do have a small retail shop here in South Westminster, or I guess it's called Historic Westminster, and we have flags of all types: U.S. flags, Colorado flags, military flags, any type of flag that you'd want, custom flags and flagpoles as well. We have a service department that actually installs, maintains, and repairs flagpoles all across the Front Range. We have a custom flag department that cultivates leads, mostly from our website all across the U.S. and outside the U.S., as a matter of fact, international as well, for flags, custom-made flags for corporations, family flags, personal interest flags, whatever type of flags they would like. We also have a seamstress that sews and repairs tattered flags that we can keep flags flying longer. So we have a service that we provide where we take down a flag that's been flying and we clean and mend it and store it for their next service. It's just one way to keep the life of the flag long. So anyway, that's a little bit about who we are. I have just a little bit more, I'm sorry. I do have, based on my staff, I have 2 2 full graphic artists that do make up our custom flag department. I have an office manager, Maddie is her name, and she does marketing and accounts payable, accounts receivable. I have a bookkeeper, I have a seamstress, and we have 4 guys in our service department, a flagpole salesman. So we have about 12 people, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So just a little bit about who we are and a taste of our company. Juliet was kind enough to give me a couple prompts to go off of, and she asked how our business was affected by COVID. And I just wanted to say that 2020 has been a very strange year for our industry and our company. Of course, in March, we closed our showroom in historic Westminster, and we began working remotely, our sales and our office staff. Our service department continued to work with new protocols of social distancing and cleaning and just a whole bunch of regulations that they did, because our installs and our service and repair are considered in the building and construction industry. So they were able to keep working. And so in April, we didn't really see a change other than we weren't meeting in the office because we had a bunch of work in the pipeline. We were still moving along. Things really just didn't really miss a beat. We picked up some projects that we've been putting on the back burner, just things that, and as a staff, you just never have time to work on. So we did that. But then May was a different story. We were still, May is traditionally for flag industry a very busy month. It kind of kicks off our flag season, and we were very slow. To put it in perspective, then let me just back up a little bit. After Memorial Day on Tuesday, we opened up the day after Memorial Day. We came back to work, and to put in perspective how slow May was, we had revenue equal for the first 25 days of the month to the last 4 days that we were open for the end of the month. So like for 25 days, it was like crickets. We were still giving quotes, but no one was really purchasing. There was definitely just like a little lull in business there, but then it exploded and we kind of went full force all of end of May, all of June, past 4th of July, which is traditionally where it quiets down, but we really haven't quieted down much. And I put that into, I associate that with just the kind of the state of our nation right now. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has something they want to say with their flag, whether they're, flying their patriotism or showing their patriotism, or if they support one side of a blue line flag or the BLM movement or whatever they want to do. Throw in the election year where we've had actually an outstanding 2020. So it's been just a strange year for us, and we're enjoying it. And one other thing, just to mention, there is actually a flag shortage in the U.S. And luckily, I have really good relationships with suppliers and manufacturers that we have not ran out. We've not run out of flags, but all across the U.S. there has been our manufacturers. There's 3 major manufacturers that supply the American flag to dealers like myself. And with their social distancing and their state regulations, their manufacturing demand, they haven't been able to produce in the demand that's needed right now. So it's been an interesting year. It's been challenging, but also I think there's been some good stuff that has come out of it. And one of the things that we did here in our office is that we did rearrange our whole showroom and office to provide better spacing for our employees. We made a definite area for our retail customers to come into, to where there's some separation to be able to have proper distancing. We, of course, are wearing masks in the office now and have amped up our cleaning protocol, and hand sanitizer stations are some of the things that we've done to really help our customers and our employees be safe. In addition to that, we also we are equipped to work remotely. We actually set that up prior to the shutdown. It was just something that we started at the beginning of the year to be in the cloud completely. and it came to our advantage because when we're sent home or we shut down our showroom and our office, all of us were equipped to work remotely, and we continue to do that. Like based on our movement in our office, we had to downsize a few workstations. So I have 2 employees that are still working remotely, and we also, any of us, if we're checking our temperature if we're not feeling well, and we all know that if you're even slightly under the weather or you think you might feel something coming on, to work at home. So that's something that's different. We'd all used to fight through it, and we're coming to work, but all of us are very aware of our symptoms and our health. So that's been nice. We also offer our customers an experience of a contactless delivery or contactless pickup. They can call us and we'll drop their items off at their car. We did that all of April and May. If we were in the office and someone needed something, we would run out and run it to them. That is all I have, other than Julia asked how the chamber could help support our efforts in the future. And I just want to say that the chamber's been so great. Their emails through all of the shutdown and all of the confusion of the laws, the updates were fantastic, and the guidelines, everything that you guys sent out was wonderful. I would like to see the continuation of facilitating connections to other members, because I think that's very important. It's nice to know who we're doing business with, and if we have a choice in doing business, it's nice to work with a fellow chamber member.
Well, thank you so much for that, Kim. I hadn't anticipated you would share that, but I appreciate that it was a nice simplified process. There were a lot of things going on, and I know one of the concerns we got from our surveys was that it's this information overload, right? And which applies to us and which doesn't, and just everyone was trying to share things, and I think it caused more confusion than it did guidance along the way. So I'm happy to hear that our COVID Digest emails were well received. I see Wayne Anderson on here with us, and he has just kind of quickly popped in to share a nice good morning message. If I can find it, I'll pull it up over here. Just a quick good morning to both myself and you, Kim, and kind of thanking us for coming on here. He touched on a number of things, and for those of you that are just now hopping on with us, we have Kim Gribling from the Custom Flag Company located here in South Historic Westminster. She shared a variety of information, starting with who they are and what they do, and I've posted that into the comment section. But before I even continue, congratulations to you, because 22 years in business is significant. It's a huge milestone, and I can't imagine, I've not met very many people that are dedicated in their work, especially gears. It's highly specialized as a niche, right? And so it's hard for you to find somebody that's so captivated with it. Are other people in your industry, have they been around for as long as you, or where do you kind of fare in comparison to some folks that might be doing similar efforts?
That's a great question. I am actually the past president, and I just came off the board of directors of the National Independent Flag Dealers Association. NIFTA is what it's called. There is a network of people just like myself. There's an association for everyone, I've often said, or a professional organization for all. And it's comprises of flag dealers like myself all across the US. And what is interesting about our industry is most of them are family-owned businesses handed down generation to generation. I have a good friend in San Antonio, and she just celebrated her 60th year. A friend in Chicago, his manufacturing facilities just celebrated 100, and another one in Chicago that's, I believe, 125. I may have that wrong, I'm sorry. But it's like multiple generations. So it's a very family tight community, and even the community within the flag industry is very tight. Even though we're all competitors, we all seem to come together as one for the good of the industry. So it's a great place to be.
Yeah, and I think that's the fabulous part about it is that you can be partners to one another, even if you are selling something similar, right? Because there are services the other one can probably do that you might not take on, or projects and vice versa, depending on the workflow and overload that they have, or just the overall request that a consumer might need. But I know you've shared that with me before whenever you were in that leadership role with your association. I was like, oh, they have an association for that. They do. And it's so exciting to see that, every industry does have that individual association. I think it just kind of allows for that idea exchange to happen and that internal support. And then if you get us beside each other, you end up, just fueling each other's energy, and you come back and you're just like ready to take on the world, whether it's, for flags or chamber, whatever other industry you might be in. I see Jennifer hopping on here. Good morning. Thank you for tuning in. We have with us Kim Breebling from the Custom Flag Company. We're now taking up comments and questions. So if you guys have any questions along the way, please be sure to comment that. Most of you know that I will have questions for Kim, so I'm just going to go ahead and start firing them away if that's okay. You mentioned to us very early on that the showroom closed once COVID really unfolded. So what does that look like for you? So for someone that doesn't really understand your showroom or the concept of it, is this a high traffic place that you generally attract customers? Is it passerbys that come on through, or is it a combination of both, right? Passerbys and appointment based? And how does that change your revenue for your company?
For the spring season, we definitely see an uptick of walk-in customers, and most of our customers are destination based. They are coming here because they looked us up online, or they know we're here and they're coming to buy something. Rarely do we have a passerby drop in. That's more of a rare occasion. So it's not necessarily appointment based, but it definitely is. They're coming for a specific product and they know what they want. So with that said, being spring, we sell a lot of residential sets for our residential customers, or they're ready for a flagpole in their yard. And so they'll come in, they want to shop around, they want to look at the product. And so we definitely saw a reduction of that type of customer. We did actually pick up a chat on our website during COVID, during the shutdown, while we were locked down. And we did notice that that actually drove a lot of really serious buyers. I mean, we have, you have to weed out some, but for the most part, we've been able to close deals on a chat. So it's been quite an interesting adventure. Some days we're chatting away, and other days we're like, you just get a lot of interesting chats. But so what that looked like for us is just mostly our walk-in customer. They were not coming in, and they were calling us still. They still were interested in the product, or they waited till that Tuesday after Memorial Day and they all just slammed us. So it was pretty crazy.
I'll bet. And so your products that you do sell, you end up shipping, or you ship the components of them. There's not really assembly that you would go out there and put something out in somebody's yard or at a business place or anything of that nature. Or if there is that component, how has that changed because of COVID?
We typically don't. We do have our service department that does install flagpoles commercially and for residential as well. So we, if someone has a flagpole in their yard and they need new rope on it, or at their business and they need a repair or service done to it, we have a team that does that. And of course, they are wearing masks on all the time. They're sanitizing before and after a job, and really working to complete the project with the 6-foot distancing between each other and of course the customer. So.
And what does that look like in terms of your sales team, right? So you mentioned kind of your individual employees and what each of them is responsible for, and that you have kind of someone that handles your sales cycle. How has their outreach been? Are they just strictly, virtually seeking clients or customers, or what does that look like for them, since there's that limited interaction that they may have been able to, capture in the past?
I would say there's a lot more virtual conversations similar to this, Zoom conversations, but most of our cultivating the project do come through email anyway, or for telephone. That's inside the office. We do have an outside salesperson that does sells flagpoles, And our customers are still very interested in in him coming onto the job site or onto their property and taking a look and assisting with the placement of the flagpole. Of course, masks are required, and we feel out our customer too in their comfort level. If they don't want us on their property, we would definitely do something virtual through Google Maps or something like that too as well.
And I think one of the most intriguing things, you shared this earlier, and we're gonna circle back to it. This was about the flag shortage that's going on. So as soon as you said that, I was like, okay, maybe it's not manufactured here, right? It's something that's coming from overseas. We saw a lot of that with PPE supplies and equipment, is that there's not really many people that have it in the warehouse here. And so when we had this restriction from other countries, it was harder to get access to those products. But it sounds like this isn't the case. Like most of these manufacturers that are using are here in the US, or?
Yeah, so we have the major manufacturers are located in the Chicago area, one in Pennsylvania, one in the East Coast, the Carolinas, and also Ohio. So that's four. Sorry, there's four of them, and they are American. Those are the suppliers that make our American flag, and they're certified FMAA manufacturers, which is certifying that every piece and every part of the American flag is manufactured in the U.S., from the grommet to the thread to the dye that dyes the fabric. And so that's really important to me and my business to sell an American-made U.S. flag. And due to that, the manufacturing facility in Pennsylvania was shut down completely. They couldn't even set foot into their factory until after Memorial Day, which was, they had a large stock, but the governor completely shut down any type of manufacturing facility at all. So then what happened was, obviously we went from 4 to 3 manufacturing suppliers, and the 3 that were open were just doing everything they could to manufacture, but they had employment issues of employees that were having to stay home with their children to help teach school. They were having to, they had to adjust their business. The one in Chicago in particular had began making masks so that they could actually stay open as a provider of protective equipment. And but then as soon as they could, they manufactured the flag, but they had to space out their factory, their staff, and all their finishing products. I mean, finishing all of it to adapt to the new standard and guidelines that was put out by their state individually. And so so it's just because of a high volume time of year, and also lack of one factory for half of the flag buying time of a typical flag season. It definitely had an impact on our industry, and we're still recovering. We still have very long waits for flags. So we know that a flag does not expire. So we have lots of flags on our shelf. We just keep it going. So.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought, and you wouldn't necessarily think about it if you weren't supplying it and looking for that very specific item that you're not willing to move away from the quality and the specialty that it is. So that's interesting that you've had to face that. So along those same lines, Kim, we touched on the fact that this is generally a family-run type of business, and that several have been around for decades, that you referenced across the U.S. That led me to say, you probably look at data and trends. So looking at this period, right, what you experienced, was that something isolated to here in Colorado as far as your sales, or was it something that you're seeing just in general across your industry was happening between that time period that COVID really, set out, and then in that Memorial Day window?
So what I found is that there's many companies like myself that have just had amazing years that our revenue is up over 2019, which was also a very good year. But it tends to be the companies that have a very strong online presence, those that have adapted well to new trends and new technology. I do notice that it's because we have so many small mom and pop type businesses in our industry that the ones that haven't embraced technology and moving their business forward are taking a big hit, which is hard to see because there's some really good companies out there and they're being hit pretty hard. I notice, and this is just my own personal data, is that when people have time at their home, this is for residential in-ground flagpoles. We have some years that we have a killer year, and some years that we're like, why didn't we sell as much? And I've noticed that it's because when people are at home, they're working in their yard, they're working in their garden, they've done a lot of work in their yard. They're like, we're ready for that flagpole. And that's usually when we have weekends that are really nice and long springs. But like last year, for instance, we had rain and snow almost every weekend leading up to Memorial Day. So our residential in-ground flagpole sales were down last year for that particular product. And it was because I believe people just couldn't get outside and work in their yard, and everything they were doing was a catch up for their yard work. And being home, I think people had a lot of time to spend in their home. And so therefore they're doing improvements on their yard, and that included an in-ground flagpole. So it's been, so like every year is a little different, and I just know that, and I just don't take it personally, which is, you're like, what's going on? But I just know that that's just the way it is. So.
Yeah, and it's a harder, like you said, right? Most people that are coming to you are coming to you after they've looked into things and they know what they want. So it's not something that you're generally like, oh, let me go and invest in this, even though there is so many uses to a flag. And it's not just the American flag that you produce. I've seen you produce different branded type things, different logos, and companies use them for their events and their parties. So it's multi-use. But it is something that's like very specific. Like if you're not thinking about that, then you likely won't go to it. So I'm glad you have that approach, and I like your data that you picked up on your own for sure. I think it's valid. I will say that it's valid, and we'll make it so. Before I start closing this out, because believe it or not, we're at our 27-minute mark, so I'll start kind of wrapping up with some last minute things that are on our radar. Is there anything you want to share with folks for them to keep in mind as you're looking for them to do business with you? They're considering doing business, or just general tips or food for thought, since you guys had already put in the remote approach before COVID even happened?
We're here, we're local, and you can visit us in our store on corner 73rd and Bradburn in historic Westminster, or visit online at customflagcompany.com. The one nice thing about doing business locally is we're here, we're not going anywhere. If for some crazy reason there's a question or a concern, we're here and we'll back it up. So that's important to remember when you do business locally, rather than just the easy click of Amazon, which we all can get sucked into. And but we sell American made, 100% American made US flags. And we try to source most of the products that we offer American made as we can. So, we've looked into it, and you're getting a superior product when you buy with us, and customer service that will stand behind it. So thank you for the time and opportunity.
Yes, thank you, Kim, and thank you for your company. You all are sponsors annually of our State of the City with those American flags, with the Colorado flag. So fortunate to have you as a partner in our community, and kudos again on 22 years. I'm excited to see you hit 25 and to be part of that milestone celebration, because I'll push you to do something if you haven't already done something by then. Now, for those of you that did start tuning in a little bit later, this video will be available to you for watching and rewinding, replaying. And if you have any comments or questions you did not get a chance to ask Kim, she went over a wealth of information from her involvement with the Flag Association nationally, that she was plugged into data as it relates to her industry, what they've done to overcome COVID and the COVID impact very earlier on, with the closure of their showroom, to transitioning to remote processes, and even having a remote workforce right now, continuing to work from their home. She's also shared about the flag shortage that's been out there, and some of the local manufacturers that she uses nationwide that have that high quality and specialized type of flags that they can provide to you. And I think that speaks volumes, right? That people can click on Amazon. It won't be the same thing that they're buying. And and it's noticeable, but past that, you inherently know that as you're displaying it as well. Now we're nearly to the 30-minute mark. Before I close out, we'll be back here tomorrow. Tomorrow is extra long, so I hope you guys stick with me. We start at 11 a.m., but we're starting with our candidate forums for ADCO and JEFCO, so that's Adams County and Jefferson County Commissioner candidates. We also will be featuring our State House and State Senate, so candidates that represent Westminster in both of those capacities. Again, we start at 11 a.m. and we'll go in 10-minute blocks all the way until around 3 o'clock or so. Now, if you're interested in tuning in into that broadcast, it'll be available here. It'll also be available on our YouTube channel as well. Please keep in mind we are taking up comments or questions leading up to the candidate forums in advance. So if you have questions that you want us to ask all candidates or candidate in specific, make sure that you text our text message line, which I'll go ahead and reiterate for you. That's 720-439-8954. Again, you can text that line at any point in time or email us at info@westminsterchamber.biz so we can take up your comments or your questions prior to the broadcast tomorrow with our candidates and be able to ask them. We will take up a couple of questions from the general public, but we always get asked, why aren't you taking up questions? We're watching, we're tuning in. It's because leading up to it, we can take up your comments and questions. So bear with us tomorrow. We have a longer broadcast with all of our candidates starting at 11 a.m. And then we'll actually still have a live broadcast in the evening-ish afternoon time period with the JEFCO Airport to share a little bit about what they're doing, what they've experienced as of late, and hopefully answer any concerns or questions that some of the residents have in the area. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. And you know, I always say this, if you found this broadcast of value, as I know you will have, please be sure to hit that share button so that folks in your network can learn more from Kim, what her team has done and things that they've implemented in their business, things that you can apply in your own business and hopefully move us forward. And of course, to you, Kim, I appreciate all that you're doing. Love having you in Westminster, and I love getting an opportunity to work with you. I hope you have a terrific day.
Thank you.
Thank you.